Good morning, everyone. You're in my bathroom. It's April 3rd, I believe. I haven't been able to do the live videos like I wanted to every day because I've been so sick. And I really want to finish my story with regards to what happened to me. Sorry, I got my daughter. Good morning, Trinity. I wanted to finish what happened to me, and I have to maximize the time that I have. So you're going to be watching me do this makeup routine that I have somewhat while I'm talking. I have to do a delivery today. I got a 3-hour total round trip to do. And so here I am. I'm nervous. I'm very anxious today. I woke up with some difficult news to work with. And yeah, so here's the beginning of what's most important to say is if you think you're in an abusive relationship. Now, abuse doesn't necessarily mean that you are being beaten. Sometimes that's a lot easier to identify. But if you're in a narcissistic personality disorder abuse relationship, and that is quite a mouthful to say, there are signs of it, being alienated. Very first thing I should say. If you feel you're in an abuse relationship, please go speak to a counselor or a shelter. Whether you plan on going to a shelter or not, they have all the resources that you need to leave the relationship. And that was my biggest mistake, is I did not do this. And yeah, I suffered, my family and I both all suffered consequences because I didn't do that, because I thought, I don't need to do this. I don't need to go to a shelter. It's not that big of a problem. I'm not being beaten. My life isn't being threatened. But I think I could have probably mitigated a lot of what happened after what I'm about to tell you, had I gone to speak to somebody and made a plan and kept everything secret until I executed the plan. Please, that is, look into it, research it, Google it. Even in my link tree now, I have a link to the Peel region, which is my region for intimate partners abuse. So I want, this is me trying to help people and not have them go through anything like the stories I've heard of others going through, or my own story. And I will outright say he never touched me in that way. He threatened to. He threatened plenty of times about saying stuff like, you're going to see me do my makeup, threatened stuff like, if you weren't a woman, I'd hit you right now, I'd punch you right now, I'd kill you right now. Apparently, he didn't. He never did. But just the threat alone was plenty, more than enough. Okay, so in the last video I left off with where I was with the arrest, and I'm trying real hard. I left off with the arrest, and I believe standing in court, and my hands were handcuffed behind my back. He had, just a quick recap, I had planned to leave, and I told him my plan, and it was only a plan at that point, and he lost his mind. And without going into great detail, because as I said in my previous video, I do not want this to be an instruction manual for anyone else. So I cannot go into certain details with regards to what was done and how things unfolded, but just know a perfect crime was committed, and it wasn't by me. He pretty much manipulated the entire situation so that our entire family was the collateral damage, and it was a catastrophic event. Yeah, I remember speaking to my family lawyer at one point, and I'm like, oh my God, he committed the perfect crime. And she said, yeah, because he was never held accountable for what he did. It's funny, I can't even do my makeup right now. I'm so nervous and anxious. I need to get this out. I need to get past this trauma. And I feel that if I tell my story, as much of it as I can, it will help somebody. And it may save a lot of lives and a lot of pain. I know a lot of you are at work right now. I'm actually getting ready to work. Hopefully I don't cry while I'm doing this. But I don't even know where to start today with my makeup. That's the funny part. A lot of people around me that know me personally know my story. I haven't not told it, but I have never told it publicly like I am. And I am with the road trip tell-all. And a lot of, people that are close and friends, they know all the details, and they know how horrific the story is. They know, and even back in the day, the lawyers had never heard of anything like this. They didn't. Narcissistic personality disorder abuse. Let's go through some of that. There's the gaslighting, making you think you're crazy. He used to do that to me. He used to do stuff that I think, like I'm a smoker, so he hid my lighters. I was a smoker. Then he would hide my lighters, or he would tell me that those weren't my lighters, those were his lighters. That was one little thing. There was a lot of red flags that I didn't know were red flags. There was a lot of lying. I used to wash them away or explain them away as just he's joking and he's bullshitting. It was a lot of lying. A lot of lying. He was an expert liar. And one time, I think I might have mentioned it in the video, one time I asked him, why does he lie so much? And, like, what do you get out of it? And he goes, I do it for sport. And when he said that to me, it was like the floor dropped right out from under me. It was in later years when he said that. For somebody to lie for sport is a huge red flag, because it's for their own personal enjoyment. And I can't say that was the beginning of the end, because I don't know where the beginning of the end really is, because there was so many endings and so many starts again because of the love bombing. And I was in a position where I had young children, and I had elderly parents and my dying sister, and there was nobody else to take care of the kids for me in the capacity that I needed help with. And he was barely working anyway. Like, he was financially completely dependent on me. He had his income from his pension and disability and all that stuff, but he would give me money and then spend more than he ever gave me. It was just you don't notice it at first, but after a while it was like, oh, well, okay. He was a prolific weed smoker. He wasn't an alcoholic. He was a prolific weed smoker. $240 every 10 days would go to weed and not into for family needs. They say that weed is not addictive, but if you've seen it at the level that I saw it, you would say definitely weed. People can be addicted to marijuana, cannabis. The needs of the family didn't matter. All that mattered was that he got high, and he would smoke so much that it would be like people from the 60s that lived through the 60s would say, I've never seen anything like it. 4 joints an hour was not uncommon, and like I said, this is a tell-all. Like with alcoholics, if you can't beat them, join them. So there was a point where I was joining in, and that definitely took the stress off of me. I don't now. I'm actually, the only thing I consume now is caffeine and nicotine, and I'm trying to just keep vaping so that way I'm away from cigarettes altogether. But that's not very successful at this time. I'm very stressed out right now. Life is challenging. I'm in the low, so I have to really scrape at it. So where I left off in the story, actually, let's still go back to narcissistic. NPD is what we'll call it. It's a mouthful otherwise. I talked about having the fence built and his nephew. Before the fence was built, his nephew and I sat down and we talked about what life was like in his world when he was around the family. And don't I look cute? What he described to me about his life beforehand and why he was not active in the family, why he was estranged from his father, and it's because what he witnessed was actually identical to what I was witnessing. And that was 25 years prior to. I don't know how good of a job I'm going to do today while I'm talking, because I don't normally do this. But like I said, I'm maximizing the time. He told me that his uncle, my children's father, would sit on the couch all day, watch movies, roll joints, deal drugs, and never worked, or rarely worked. And it was identical to what I was living with 25 years later. And that's when I realized absolutely nothing will ever change, because it had been going on for that many years back then. That was his childhood memories of his uncle, and that was my memories, and I didn't want my children to have those same memories of their father. I didn't want them to be front row center for that. So I eventually came up with a plan. I told you about the plan in the previous videos. Again, it was just a plan. I'd never actually, I know I'm doing this all ass backwards, but oh well. But eventually, the plan was that I was going to move the children away from the environment that they were being raised in. And I told them all this because I wanted a really happy, positive, as happy as it can be. It's not a great situation when parents split up, but I wanted us to be mature and as I had said then, and I'll keep repeating it, because he told me never to repeat it again as he was stabbing himself. He said every time that I said, you know, I want this to be a happy, amicable, peaceful, I offered no child support, no rent, open access. I wanted us to give the kids a well-rounded life with 2 happy households as opposed to one very unhappy one. And he decided otherwise. He lost his mind. And he looked me straight in the eye while he was stabbing himself and saying this to me, that I was doing this, this, and this to him. Every time I talked about a happy separation. It still haunts me. I don't care if he sees this and he gets some kind of satisfaction out of this. I know what he is. And everybody around me knows what he is, including my children. He can't do any more damage to me. Can't do any more damage to the kids. They all need counseling to some degree or another. I've had a lot of counseling. Probably still need more, judging by how I'm reacting today. But I know my story will help somebody. Somebody out there is in a similar situation. And this is why I emphasize, please go to shelters and talk to them. Make a plan. Keep the plan secret. Don't tell the children. Because children have a way of letting things slip, or they'll act differently, and the other parent will feel or know something's going on, whether you have children or not. It doesn't matter. Just please reach out, look for it. So here we are. I was arrested for something I would never do. A violent crime that I'm a pacifist. I was actually meditating before he did this. There was no screaming match or fight going on at all. I wasn't reacting. He was trying to push all my buttons, and a narcissist will do that. They will test you and test you and test you, and they will try to push your buttons, and the best reaction is no reaction in most circumstances. Obviously, I can't talk while I'm doing this. I shouldn't be recording at this moment, but this is alive. So let's skip forward to when I'm standing in court. And my son, my oldest son, who called my lawyer for me, was there. A very good friend was there. Another one was there but had to leave for some serious, and this is what kills me, is that the impact of what he had done had hit so many people so far outside of the family unit and affected them. And they had to put plans on hold. My best friend had to run around and find cash that night after my son called him to ask for help. My son was only 16 at the time, and he didn't have any money for a lawyer or anything like that. So he called the people he knew would step up, or thought he knew would step up. Not everybody stepped up. This was a family tragedy and a massive crisis, and there were people that couldn't be bothered. People who I had trusted enough to put them in my will as guardians of my children if anything should happen to me. People I knew for decades. And then this is a tell-all. This is a tell-all. People I knew, who I trusted with many things in my life, including the financials of my businesses. They didn't bother. For whatever reason, they didn't bother. But a phone call would have been nice for the support. It was clear we needed help. Just a phone call would have been great. And these are people who claim to be Christians and do good. Anyway, I was standing in court, and like I said, with the handcuffs behind my back, and I looked at my son and I mouthed to him I didn't do it as the charges were being read. I said, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And he goes, I know. Turns out for years, my ex was brainwashing my kids behind my back and telling them, Mommy is crazy. Mommy is crazy. Don't listen to Mommy. Mommy's crazy. Meanwhile, I was probably losing my mind about something that was very legitimate and stressed out about. And he would tell them these things behind my back. I would never do something like that. Not then. I would never. I'd tell the truth, like I am now, but I would never turn my children against their father. Even now I say just, contact him, talk to him, just don't let me hear his voice because I don't want to hear it. I've made clear instructions to my closest friends. I don't care what it takes. If I'm on my dying bed, I do not want to hear that voice before I leave this planet. I know this is a PTSD trigger right now. I can't afford to get help. If anything, if I was going to spend money on counseling, it would be for my kids. I've had so much counseling. And I'm so grateful for what there is out there. The judge who wrote the bail conditions was a woman. The Crown attorney was a woman. I don't know why I thought that they would be any different. But what was done to me just in the legal justice system was cruel. My bail conditions were that I was not able to make contact to him or my kids. I was not allowed to be anywhere where he is known to be, which includes my children's school. I was not allowed to return home, my home, the house I bought in 1998 and owned for years before he came along. The one that I still had to pay the bills for, the mortgage for, the taxes. I was not even allowed to call my own telephone, my landline that I was paying the bills for, to speak to my children. I had no idea at this point what happened to my children, if they were at home, safe in their beds, or if Children's Aid and the police had taken them away from the situation, because last I saw he was being taken off by ambulance from scratches, basically. I gotta stop crying now because I gotta put this shit on and continue forward with my day. Yeah, I was not allowed to return home, so in that moment, I was homeless, penniless. I had less than nothing because I was so deep in debt, because I was supporting a family and on my own, while still clearing the elephant and no income there. As I explained in the video before, I couldn't have a full-time job because I was dealing with hoarding disorder, a family, his fishing routine, schedule, his disappearance acts that he would do. He would take off. He would start a fight and then he would take off. He would never listen to reason, no matter how much I tried to get through to him. You know, can't afford stuff. You can't be fishing when kids need to be fed. And he would never bring a fish home for us to eat, by the way. Never. In all those years, there was never a fish for us to eat. Thousands spent every year on fishing tournaments and boats and gas and motel stays and all of that. But there was never any money to pay for a vacation. And there were times where I would scrape together change just to buy milk for my kids. Excuse me. Maybe I'll brush up my hair too before we go. Because I'm going to stop this video soon. So I was homeless. My friend who was in the gallery, whatever you call it, in the courtroom with my son, she was there to take me in. I'm eternally grateful for that. Oh, great. She knew me, but she didn't know if I was capable of doing something like I was being accused of. She trusted me enough to take me into her home with her children. Her children were almost adults. But still, it's a big risk to take somebody in like that. And she did, with her heart. I had nothing. She gave me shoes to wear, clothes to wear, a bed to sleep in, with nothing, no expectations of anything in exchange. She fed me. She kept my morals up. She supported me. Her and her husband both supported me during that time. She knew the truth after we were able to sit down and talk. She guided me to write everything down. And I still have that file somewhere. Oh, Christ. Oh, well. I know things about stress, and I know things about how to manage during that time and what to avoid and what to make sure. And I was taken the next day to a pharmacy, so I made sure to get my B vitamins, and I only had a little bit, I think about $120 available on my credit card to buy necessities. I think I bought underwear I'm not sure at this time, probably. Yeah. I think we went to a Walmart where everything is, and I picked up some underwear, and I picked up some vitamins and toothbrush and toothpaste, and I think a hairbrush. I don't remember that much too clearly. It was just the basic essentials that I didn't want to be totally dependent on her for. With some, with my antioxidants for the stress levels I knew I was facing. And it's funny because I was thinking clearly because I stayed calm. I tried to do as much as I could, as clear thinking as possible. I'm more emotional now than I was then. I did become emotional. There were times where I was swimming in oceans of sweat and tears and snot. And, there was one specific moment that I do remember where I was talking to my mom for the first time afterwards. She didn't know what was going on. She thought I was in bed sleeping because that's what she was told I was doing. She thought I was upstairs in my bedroom sleeping or working or whatever because she was lied to. And I was trying to get it through to her what was happening, and she didn't understand. And I think that it was just so unreal to her, I guess. It was unreal to all of us what was going on. But I remember that phone call not lasting long, but I don't think I've ever had so much tears and sweat all over me. And I just, yeah, it was a rough time. I was torn away from my home, my mom. My mom had no care. Nobody was taking care of her. He actually ended up dumping her at her house a few days later with no foods, meds, or care. She had no fresh food in the house. And that's how it went. And there was nothing I could do. I couldn't get her meds to her. I couldn't contact him to get meds to her. I couldn't even contact a third party to tell him to get her meds to her and, give her her meds. And because my mom was already slipping with regards to remembering everything. I gotta go for now. I'm going to be on again in approximately an hour when I'm driving, and then I'll definitely not be crying, or maybe, this is going to be a multiple part live video again today. It's going to be for a few hours, off and on. Please like, share, subscribe, follow wherever I can. I've got my Linktree link in this. If you are a victim of domestic abuse, know that you can be a survivor. Go to the shelters or go to the counselors, speak to somebody and get the guidance, make a safety plan. I'll continue with the story in a little while. I'm not even gonna try to fix this. I'm just gonna go as I am. I really need a lot of support right now, financial support. I'll tell you more about that later. And I'm going to go for now. I'll see you in a little bit.